Battlefield 3 has always ranked in the top of my favorites from the franchise, even higher than some of the more praised ones like Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 1. In a previous video, I did cover Bad Company 2, a game I had somewhat of a problem with last year, finding decent enough lobbies. It seemed to me that not many people were playing that game, or maybe I was just having shitty luck during the course of the few days I tried playing it. Who knows? Today, however, we're going to see if Battlefield 3's multiplayer is still playable here in 2023 on the PlayStation 3. Yes, I know this series is usually entirely voted on by the fans, but I kept getting requests to cover this game in general, so instead of constantly throwing it on the voting polls, I'll just cover it regardless. But don't worry, the following videos after this will continue to be voted on by you. So what is the player base like here today? To my surprise, it's actually much more active than I anticipated. On average, it seems to range anywhere from maybe 50 to over 100 people actively playing across the servers, with a variety of game modes as well. Unlike other games I've covered, you're not limited to, say, TDM only. The main three modes, Team Deathmatch, Conquest, and Rush, are still very much playable today. Occasionally you may come across a few others like Gun Game from time to time, but it's an uncommon occurrence. Battlefield 3 introduced server browsing, which is great, but you may come across a few potential problems. For one, a vast majority of the remaining active servers are fan-made. Maybe one or two servers are official DICE ones with their typical rules. There's a few things you may notice with the fan-based servers. One, they only feature a single map with only one game mode. Or two, they have rules, some of which may come off as bizarre or even unreasonable. If the admins are playing in those servers and you break a rule, or perhaps you're just too good at the game and you kill the admin too much, God forbid, they can either boot you from that server or ban you entirely. No, it doesn't happen all the time, but I would be lying if I said it hasn't happened to me, because I guess I was cheating. It goes without saying that you shouldn't really expect to play a lot of DLC related stuff. Like I said, you very well could run into a gun game lobby with a good amount of people in it, but it's not very common. But the good thing is those DLC packs have weapons in them, so it's still worth the download if you do already have them purchased. So let's touch on the situation with the connection and or lag with Battlefield 3. I say touch on because there's really not a whole lot to say about it. Honestly, I didn't notice any glaring issues. If anything, the connection felt no different than what I could remember when I played it last. Yeah, sure, there's gonna be a few questionable moments, like how the hell did he kill me, rubber banding type stuff, other players skipping around because they have shit internet, or one of my favorites, getting stabbed even though the guy was facing the complete other way. I love that. Which brings me to the next subject, hacking and cheating. Well, I do recall at one point in the past, hacking was somewhat of an issue on the PS3. But as for today, don't worry about it, it's a non-issue. Maybe if I played this more, I might come across a hacker or two at some point. But during my time with this game, for this video, I never came across anything suspect, or even anywhere near the realm of cheating. Then again, I would imagine that if the hackers were to jump into these fan-made servers, that the admins would boot them relatively quickly. What's the actual gameplay like in 2023? Well, again, it's not a whole lot different from the last time I played it many years back. If anything, it's quieter since no one was playing with mics. I would even argue that the community here in 2023 is far less toxic than it's ever been. It kind of reminds me of those older Medal of Honor titles that I covered, where the remaining players were actually really happy to see others playing the game still. I went into Battlefield 3 playing it exactly the same as I ever did in the past. And the thing is, I never felt that the game was dated. I wasn't bored by it. I never thought, man, I wish I was playing something off the PS5 or, something new and exciting with top-notch graphics, state-of-the-art gameplay, whatever you want to say. Simply put, the Battlefield 3 of today is still fun and enjoyable. It's still solid as hell with its gameplay. If I did have a couple things I could mention that, maybe didn't age well, were things like the obnoxious amounts of lens flare, and that some of the vehicles took a little while to get the hang of the controls. Not game breaking, but things that I would say, yeah, I don't quite miss that. Outside of that, I could very easily see myself playing Battlefield 3 off and on until the day the servers are finally gone. There's just something about this game that gives me that feeling of excitement, the adrenaline, and the enjoyment of flat out having a good time. That for me makes Battlefield 3 a true timeless classic. But what about the co-op experience? Is that still playable? Kinda, maybe, sorta. After a few days of trying with no luck, I finally got myself into a lobby on a Saturday evening, played a few games, and came to the realization that, yeah, this didn't quite age well. Like with Modern Warfare 2 and its co-op mode, they're kinda just one-and-done type deals. Play the levels, maybe do it on the highest difficulty, and then probably never touch it again. They're also riddled with bugs and various different glitches. My favorite was this guy here, looping through the air, shooting at something. But hey, he's here to party, so God bless him. Now that brings us to the final segment. Is Battlefield 3 still playable here in 2023, almost 12 years after the game's launch? Oh, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. With a variety of game modes still playable, the amount of players still active online, and the ease of getting into a match, it's a no-brainer. The gameplay still feels solid, it holds up very well. Honestly, it's one of the more playable games I've covered in this entire series so far, which is kind of shocking considering all of those Call of Duty titles that I've covered, some of which I love more than Battlefield 3. But the biggest thing holding those Call of Duties back were things like lag, lack of game modes, and in the case of, say, Black Ops 2, the insane amount of hackers. So yes, if you have any desire at all to play this game, I highly encourage you to do so. As I said earlier, Battlefield 3 is definitely a timeless classic, at least to me. So with that, everyone, thank you all very much for watching. If you do have a suggestion for a game you want me to cover in the future, leave a comment down below. And until then, I will see you next time. Take care, everyone.